yeah, I think the main highlight is being able to spend time with them, learn about their cultures.
UGRAD is one of the experience that you cannot buy. What do I mean?
Welcome back to another episode of Unitel, which we, in every week, bring you different stories from different people and universities, as well as sharing those experiences to you. And this week, we're going to talk about UGRAD vs YSEALI and which one should you apply for. So in case you don't know, I am an alumni from YSEALI Academic Fellowship Fall 2019 at the University of Connecticut, or UConn. And in this week's episode, we're also having Wood from UGRAD to talk about this together. So hello.
Hello. So,
would you mind introducing yourself?
Okay, I'm Vong Saravuth. I'm the alumni of the Global Undergraduate, or as known as the Global UGRAD program. I was the alumni at the State University of New York at Plattsburgh, as you can see on my t-shirt right here, and I'm glad to be here.
Okay, thank you very much for being here with us. So we're going to discuss different elements of this program together, which will lay out different reasons why you should apply to this or that program. So we're going to have criteria, application process, English proficiency or English test, and we're going to describe our overall experience as well as the duration of the whole program, and a very important part, traveling.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started with the first. What is UGRAD?
So basically, as known as the name itself, it actually says Global Undergraduate program. So basically, this program is a one-semester exchange where the student who currently enroll in a full-time bachelor's degree in any country can actually apply to go to study in America for one whole semester. So the duration, it would be around 4 months, where student will become a full-time student in any of the university in America. But if you ask me if you can choose the university or not, actually no, but they will assign you to the university based on your current major that you are currently studying. So basically, in short, it's a one-semester exchange program where you go to study in America as a full-time student.
Okay, so similarly to YSEALI, it's in a similar sense, it's an academic exchange as well. You go to the US as well, but in a shorter period of time. So in YSEALI, you've got 5 weeks. It's a 5-week program where the focus is a little bit different. In UGRAD, you would go and take classes as regular classes as you might do at your undergraduate level, whereas for YSEALI, you would have to choose a particular theme, for example. So there are 3 themes. First of all, it's environment. There is also civic engagement, and my theme is social entrepreneurship and economic development. So yeah, I think from here you can clearly see the difference. Of course, it's the duration and then also the particular interest that you might have.
Yeah.
So shall we go to the criteria part?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, should I start first?
Yeah.
All right, so for criteria, YSEALI is a program open for students, not only students. You can also be a fresh graduate or a professional, as long as you're within the age range of from 18 to 25 years old. Then you can apply for YSEALI. And another important criteria, which is also that you have to be a citizen of ASEAN countries plus Timor-Leste.
Okay.
Yes. So what about you?
For UGRAD, it's actually open for global. Basically, they have a list of countries where you are eligible to apply. So you may check in the website itself. I will show it to you later. But first, you have to be the citizen of those countries listed in the list. And then second, you have to be a full-time enrolled student in any university of your home country. Basically, if you are Cambodia, make sure that you are enrolling in the university that is located in Cambodia. And while you are applying, you have to consider that after you come back from the program, which is usually they open at the end of the year, and when you come back, it's probably at the middle of next year. So make sure that when you come back from the program, you have 1 semester left. So which means if you are currently studying in year 4, semester 1, it is less likely for you to be able to apply. The latest it would be during your year 3, semester 1 or semester 2. So that's the specific timeline and eligibility that you have to have. The age was not the main criteria for that, as long as you are the undergrad student. And if you may ask, like, what if I studied this major and that major? They do not restrict. You can apply as long as you are the undergrad in any major. And also you have to have English proficiency. Of course, you are going there for 4 months, so you are going to be studying, sitting in the classroom with the American students. You have to do assignment just like other students there. So yeah, I think that's it for the criteria. Oh, one more thing. You have to be some sort of person who is leading any social activity. Basically, you love volunteering, you love giving back to society. That's also something they're looking for.
Okay, I think seems like the main difference is definitely YSEALI is based more on like age. You have to be in a certain age range in order to apply, whereas for UGRAD you have to be, it depends on like your academic timeline within your university, whether you have already had a 1 semester or like you also have to have 1 semester left, right?
Yeah.
And also I think one more difference is, of course, you mentioned earlier that there is a list of countries that you can apply to, but it's open to more countries than YSEALI, whereas YSEALI they only open to like ASEAN countries plus Timor-Leste. So it's definitely a big difference there, and you can also decide whether or not you fit in those criteria to apply. So, anything else on the criteria part?
I think that's it, yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the application process.
All right.
What does the application look like for application process look like if you want to apply for UGRAD?
Okay, so for UGRAD, the application process was not that complex, but there's a lot of things that you need to fill in. So basically, usually they open the application at almost the end of the year or earlier of the new year. So you have to check on the websites, and then they are going to have the link for you to go into there, and then you have to sign up for an account. So basically the account will be used from the very first process until the day that you come back from the program. So all the information will be in that portal. They call it the portal. So after you sign up, there's gonna be a application form where you have to fill in a lot of information, such as your background information, your academic information. Also, you have to upload some certain document, including the recommendation letters from your university, and also your passport. And moreover, they also have like, I think 2 or 3 essays that you have to fill in as well to answer some certain question. So questions, it actually varies from one year to the other. So make sure you actually go into there, and then you can actually see the the questions so that you can have enough time to prepare for that. And after the application process, you actually submit it. And then if you are selected, if you are shortlisted, they will contact you for the interview. So the interview is actually take around 15 to 20 minutes. They would ask around your personal information. So if you ask me what's the question, it would be not that different. They would want to know, why do you want to go to the US? Why do you choose Global UGRAD? And why do you think this program is actually significant for you? So basically it's around that. So just be yourself and actually be truthful of what your main purpose for the program. They might see something in you on that. And after the, if you got selected from the interview, you are now either a primary or secondary candidate. So if you are the primary candidate, it means you are the top performers. So you have to go through the TOEFL test. So the TOEFL test, they will give you the, they will register for your TOEFL test, and then you have to reach at minimum of 60 score over 120. Basically, you have to get half of the score. But I'm not sure if the next or the future year they might change, or they might add on some more scores. So please be updated with their websites as well on that. But during my time, I mean I need to score over 60 to get that. And after that, it's mean if you actually got into, I mean if you pass the TOEFL test, you are going to the visa application process. It's not the end yet. You have to apply for the visa, you have to go through visa interview, and then if everything is good, you're good to go. So that would be the application process for the Global UGRAD.
Okay, so first of all, application round through the portal.
Yep.
And then interview, and then English test, visa application.
Yep.
Okay. So is the portal, application portal, is it universal for every country you're applying for? Is it like for all candidates, or is it country based?
Actually, it would be depends on who is the partner of Global UGRAD. Let's say we have, I think during my time there were two institutions that actually assist in terms of recruitment. There is World Learning and also IREX. So from some certain country, they will go through the portal of IREX. And for us, we have to go through the portal of World Learning. I'm not sure how the portal differs from each other, but yeah, there are these two institutions who have different portals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you might have to check which portal you're working on. But is it like similar, or do you know about that?
I think the process is, it could be a bit different because in some country they select more people, so they might have more questions for them to go through. But it wouldn't be that hard if you go to the U.S. Embassy website in your country. So basically, each country they have different domains. So if you go into that, they might provide you the correct portal.
This is should be put as a disclaimer as well. So what we're sharing here is our own experience in applying, and also we're from Cambodia. So the application process is may vary from different countries. So you may check out what your requirements or the criteria is, the application process is in your country specifically as well.
How about YSEALI?
Okay, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
All right, so for YSEALI, I would say the application process is much simpler. So you would have to just apply. The application process is, first of all, you would see the announcement by the YSEALI page or U.S. Embassy's page, and then you would see that they have a file for you to download. So it's the application file. There's several questions, several details that you have to fill in, and after you fill in those essays and then fill in all the information, you would save those files and send to the email that they ask you to send to. And then after that, if you're shortlisted, you go to a single interview. So you will be asked questions, why you're interested in YSEALI, what you want to contribute back and stuff like that. So after that, it's kind of the end of the process already. If you get selected as a primary candidate, that means you're selected. If not, then you can reapply next year and stuff like that. But then you also have to go to the visa application as well, but I think that's when you already passed.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's just you going to have to do a written application and then an interview. I think that's it.
Oh, I forgot to mention, UGRAD also requires you to do the health check. So there would be some certain health criteria that they might have to check. But I mean, it's just for your safety, you know. Sometimes they do the health check so that they can send you to the right university. Let's say if you are not quite good with the cold condition, they might consider the state that is warmer for you. So yeah, that's also something that worth mentioning. Oh yeah, I forgot to ask you if YSEALI applicants need to submit any English proficiency tests like TOEFL or IELTS.
From the year I applied, no, I did not have any English proficiency test back then, IELTS or TOEFL. So it's not a requirement, but I think it's optional. You can either submit or not. It doesn't really affect your results, by the way, because I didn't have it back then and was selected. But I'm sure you have to have a certain English proficiency level because you have to go to the US and you have to communicate and all that. So at the minimum, you have to be good at writing or speaking. Listening as well, I think.
Also, of course.
Because you'll go through the interview round anyway, I think that's when they kind of assess how your speaking or listening ability. So yeah, you don't have to have any English proficiency test
Okay.
to apply for YSEALI
All right.
academic fellowship. Yeah. All right. So I think that kind of sums up the application process and the main differences between when you apply for UGRAD or you apply for YSEALI, how it looks like. So we're moving on to a very exciting part, which I'm sure you kind of wonder what type of experience will you be able to gain if you were to be exposed to UGRAD or YSEALI. So why don't we start with you? What was your overall experience like being a UGRAD exchange student?
I would say, if you ask me to describe it in one sentence, I would say UGRAD is one.
Let's do it with 3 words.
UGRAD is one of the experience that you cannot buy. What do I mean? Well, basically, it might sound like, hey, you got selected for UGRAD, you just go to America and study in the university, but it's more than that. So first thing is that you get the 1 whole semester fully funded opportunity to study in the American university with American people and also people from all over the world, because you know America is not just one country with one nationality. There's a lot of nationality in the school. So my experience was that I get to meet people from all over the world and also learn from American professor who is specialized in the major I'm actually currently in from the American perspective. So basically in Cambodia, most of the time we talk about ASEAN, we talk about country near us, right? As me, from my IR, international relations field, when I go to America, I learn more of like European, I learn from Africa, I learn other part of the world. So that's something that I think is very unique when I actually got the experience to go there. Second is about the people that you interact with outside the classroom. So when you go there, it's not just like you go to study and then you come back home. You actually have your own free time. So 4 months, you have the freedom to actually go places, but you have to inform of course you have to inform the school and also inform the world learning of where you are going for your safety. But yeah, you get to experience America. You can go to different part of the country to see different things, or maybe you have your own bucket list, which for me, of course, New York City was one of my bucket lists, and yeah, I got to visit that city. And then the last thing I would say is again, it's also the people that you meet there, and then right now we still keep in touch with one another. So like I mentioned earlier, in UGRAD, you're not only doing assignment in classroom, but you also do the community service, and also those who got selected for the UGRAD, they are actually people who already involved in projects or in community service. So when we come back, we can actually talk to one another what you've been doing and also what we are planning to do in each of the country. Basically, you make friends in one school, but when you come out, you actually make friends in different parts of the world. So that would be a lot of, I mean, there's a lot more to talk about that, but yeah, the people was one of the most exciting things to talk about.
That sounds so exciting.
Yeah, how about YSEALI? I think you also have a lot to share.
Yeah, ask you first. Like,
Okay.
what would be your most memorable thing about being a UGRADer?
Actually, I think being one of the UGRADer is actually very privileged, because when we go there, we have the institution actually taking care of us very well. They check with us once a month how we are doing with our school, how we are doing with people around us, is there any challenges. So basically, they not only communicate to us, but they also connect us to other UGRADers, which they might study in the same school or they might study in other university. So they actually have the end of the program summit, where they gather all the UGRADers who actually go there at the same time as us, and then what we have faced, what we have experienced, what are the stories that we got to tell. So that's the time when you actually meet other UGRADers. It's very exciting, basically.
Sounds Sounds really exciting. But are you also connected to like alumni from the program? Yeah.
Basically, coming back, before I leave Cambodia for the UGRAD program, I actually got added into the alumni group of Cambodia UGRADers. So I actually have some questions and interaction with them beforehand. And right now, we're still like keeping in touch with each other.
Okay.
Yeah, back to you about your experience in YSEALI.
All right, so I think I've seen a lot of similarities and differences between these two programs. So first of all, I think I agree with you. One of the main factors of like make it so memorable is the people. So I spend the time with different from you. You meet like classmates from all over the world, but in my batch, in my cohort, we were studying in classroom. If we were talking about classroom curriculum structure, we were having our own class. So we're not like having usually having classes with Americans, but we having classes with other fellows from from ASEAN countries. So those who were selected from different countries to be a part of YSEALI program, because we have like different academic curriculum that we have to go through. So yeah, I think the main highlight is being able to spend time with them, learn about their cultures, talking about a lot of differences but similarities between like ASEAN countries, and just getting closer and spend a lot of like stupid time together. So so if any of the YSEALI Huskies are here, I want to give a big shout out to you. You make my time there so valuable. I did really have the time of my life there. So yeah, if you talk about 5 weeks there in general, I would divide the first 4 weeks. It's generally called residential program. So what it means is you stay in an assigned college or university. So I was assigned to UConn, where I was with other like 20 plus fellows there. So the curriculum itself is to prepare you to work on the project that you were working on in the specific theme. So I was in social entrepreneurship and economic development theme, which I need to design a business plan for the project I'm working on. So you really get this support system within you to have, to help you revise that and hear comments. And you go through classes like, for example, classes that help you build those business proposals from plan to plan. So it's not like you go and you have to make it alone, but there's like this journey that you have to go through in different assignments that would put together those business plan that you have at the end of the 4 weeks and pitch that project to everyone. So I think that's the main objective, and also a big difference from like UGRAD and YSEALI. For UGRAD, you do take classes like regular classes that you do at your school, but for YSEALI, you take classes that is aligned to your theme. If you're doing like civic engagement, you'll be exposed to subjects that relate to that. And usually for my classes, it's not like so connected. It's usually just one class. For example, I already forgot all my classes, but I guess, for example, I don't want to give examples because I forgot those already. Right. But yeah, it's just entrepreneurship related classes. But then there's also classes like leadership class where you have multiple classes to take. But usually it's separate classes. It's not like you have to take those throughout the rest of your 5 weeks. Yeah. So I think that's one of the main difference. So alongside those 4 weeks, you don't only like go to classes and learn. Even though we're not like assigned to have classes with Americans or other people, or like our program coordinator were like kind enough to hold classes between us and Americans, so we get those exposure and also conversations and discussion within the classroom as well. So it's kind of like an add-on to the experience itself in that specific curriculum. And then on top of that, we also have community service, but it's not like you have to. I think for UGRAD, you have to like commit to a certain
20 hours.
20-hour community service. But for YSEALI, it's more like, okay, the program would designed for you to go to different places where you like have a day or half a day you would volunteer there and work with different organizations because we have a short period of time, so that would often occur on like weekends.
Yeah.
And apart from that, we also have like some travels to different universities, and because in my team we have two host universities, UConn and Brown. So sometimes we would go to Brown and take classes there as well. So it's kind of those exposure within the 4 weeks. And I'm sure a lot of people would look forward to like the last week of the program, the 5th week, which is the study tour, where you get to go to three different states for my program specifically. So we went to Pennsylvania, went to New York, and then we ended the program in Washington, D.C., which we meet with the Department of State representatives, and we pitch some of our projects and then take photos with our certificates there. So I think that's the overall kind of curriculum and experience. But yeah, as I mentioned, I think one of the main highlights, because I really didn't expect to have that kind of, connection with those people, because it's only 5 weeks. And I was a really shy person. I don't talk to anyone that much, but I think I was able to build that kind of relationship, kind of friendship that builds over time. And I still talk to those people until today.
That's
and
good.
really,
Yeah.
I also had a trip after the program to Thailand and then meet with those people. So it was pretty awesome how we were able to build that connection in such. All right, let's move towards, I think this question is more oriented to UGRAD. So related to like credit transfer, how does that work for your case? Or you can explain more to other people's cases too.
Yeah, so basically UGRAD, like I mentioned, is one semester exchange. So basically you have to take leave from your school for one whole semester. So how do you actually compensate the time that you actually spend in the US? So in Global UGRAD itself, it's actually possible, but it's not guaranteed. So in some university, you could actually go and talk to your department whether or not the courses that you will be taking in the US could be transferred. Basically, you go there to study, let's say 15 credits, and then your school requires 15 credits. So make sure that sometimes the course that you study there is very, very different from what we study back home. So you might be able to transfer only some credits, like let's say 6 credit or 9 credit, and then you have to retake some of the courses at your home university in Cambodia. But for my case, I was somehow lucky, and also I was prepared. So I went to the head of my department and I seek for his advice whether which course I should take so that I can transfer it back to Cambodia. So I was able to transfer all of my credit back, so I do not have to retake. So my advice would be, if you got selected to be a UGRADers, so make sure you check with your school about the courses that are available and whether or not you can transfer.
That also kind of like depends on the flexibility of your school, your institution, whether they're able to like get the credits that you were studying there, and then some of the courses available.
I think, I want to add on a bit on that part. So sometimes, don't forget that you transfer your credit, you also transfer your GPA. So which means that if you go to America to study, which some of the courses could be harder and some of them could be easier. So you have to make sure that if you want the overall GPA in your university in Cambodia to be good, make sure you also do well while you are in the US as well. So you transfer both credit and the GPA.
So what is the minimum GPA? Is there any requirement from like the embassy or the World Learning that you need to maintain at the end of your exchange?
Actually, it's not that high. During my time, you just need to pass. Basically, you need to pass all the courses, and then you're good. Okay. But if you want better GPA, overall GPA, you have to do even harder. So, yeah. It's a bit of a challenge in some university, like let's say in terms of citation. Some of the school they use, like in Cambodia, some university we use APA. But when I went there, they use other like Chicago style of referencing. So I have to spend some time adapting to that as well. So that's something, yeah, challenging.
Do you think it's harder to maintain GPA at your home university or when you're abroad?
I think it would depend on course because to me, I studied 5 courses when I went to the US. 3 of them did not require final exam. We only have to do paper. Basically, there were like 5 or 6 papers for each subject. So I just complete those paper, make sure that I actually do well. So I think it would be easier for that case. But for the other 2 subjects where I have to take exam, it's a bit challenging because let's say the introduction to American political system. Most students who studied in high school in the US, they have background knowledge on that. So when they go, it's like, it's like a series where you start, where you watch from the first, second, third episode, and then you understand what is on the fourth. But for us, we have to climb from the first, second, and third episode to catch up with the current one. Same to the subject that we study. So somehow I manage it. Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have something to add on regarding credit transfer for like YSEALI part. Maybe some people are having questions about that. So YSEALI Academic Fellowship specifically, it's a non-degree short-term program. So it's not having like those GPA or those credits that you can transfer to your university. So it means that you're studying there, you're only learning about the program specific things, and that cannot be transferred to your university if you're studying right now. But then I think the main difference is that you're working on a project, which for your case is a GPA, so that would be like the outcome of the program as well. Yeah. So I think we've covered most of the part. Let's move on to something even more exciting, which is traveling. So how many states have you been to during your program there?
To be exact,
You're counting.
wait, let me count.
Give him a moment.
So first of all, I actually went to Boston in Massachusetts,
Yeah,
and then
I've
next,
been there.
yeah, and then next I flew to California. So in California, I went to Los Angeles and San Francisco. So it's in the same state. And then I flew to Arizona to see some like cactus and desert.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I flew to Las Vegas to see like the modern city. And after that, I went to New York City, and then Florida, to Miami, and actually in Florida there's Miami and Orlando, the Universal Studio. And then lastly I ended up with Washington DC, which is the capital of the US. So yeah, that was not much. I mean,
How many were those?
I lost count. I mean, everyone was counting, so it's fine.
Okay.
So I was able to travel, I guess more than wisely because of the duration, of course. And also, like I mentioned earlier, we have more of the freedom. So basically, we study from Monday to Friday. So weekends or during breaks, we can actually manage the schedule. Like, make sure we do not miss any class. So we have to go there on weekends. So yeah, we arrange our schedule, we book our flights, we do everything on our own. So yeah. Independence. Basically, it's more independence.
Okay. So for YSEALI, yes, we're having classes from Monday to Friday, same, but usually on weekends we're having stuff to do, like we're having homestays, where we're visiting, like they're like homestays, and then we kind of go to the house and enjoy like American culture, learning about them, the host family and stuff like that. And we also have volunteering, which plays on the weekend as well, and some travel. So I think it's more intensive in terms of like the scheduling that we have to go through, and it's more prepared for us because it's in a shorter period of time. But I've also been to a lot of places, I think. So yeah, Connecticut is first because it's my host university. UConn is there. And then I've also been to Boston. Massachusetts. We visited Harvard.
Yeah, I went to Harvard.
but not MIT though.
Same.
Oh, I think I did, but we didn't have a tour on MIT, but we
I
did
see.
have a kind of a session there. So yeah, I've been able to go there, and also in Connecticut we were able to go to like Yale University.
Wow. That's great.
Nice.
That's
That was
great.
nice. I can brag about that all day. Okay, because one of the other host university, which is Brown. So Brown is located in Rhode Island. We were able to go there as well. I might miss some places. I think I've mentioned earlier as well. Philly in Pennsylvania, New York, of course, and
DC.
DC, yeah. So yeah, I think quite a bunch of places as well, and yeah.
That's a lot though.
I know. I mean, comparing just 1 month, it's a lot. So very thankful to those who designed the program.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention about my home university, which is actually located in Plattsburgh. Some people might not have heard of it, but Plattsburgh is only 30 minutes away from Canada. So it's like that close to Canada, which is quite cool. So hello people in Plattsburgh. So if you're watching right now, those who are in SUNY Plattsburgh, yeah, I miss you all.
Oh. But yeah, I think one more thing, I don't know if you've had the same experience, but we went to a lot of museums.
Yeah, museum.
A lot
exactly.
of museums, I think.
And most of them are free though, in Washington DC.
I'm not sure about that because I'm not the one who arranged it, but
Okay.
we went there free, but I don't know if they pay for it. But yeah, a lot of variety as well. I didn't like museums back then, but I think I enjoyed it a lot in different types of museums. One of which is like museum. It's like news museum where they feature different news around the world, and it's very interesting. And one of my favorites as well is African American museums, which is pretty nice.
Nice.
Okay, so I think we've covered all the points that we plan to cover, which leads to our last question. Which program should you apply? You start first.
Which, I mean,
Which one do you want to apply?
well, actually, it's just like a wrap up of everything. So if you're looking for a program where you actually spend the whole semester being a student of a university in America, and basically just like what you're doing here, you have a classmate, you have quiz, you have assignment, you have final exam, and basically if you want to be a full-time student but in America, I think UGRAD is for you. And also if you are looking for a more independent schedule, UGRAD is also for you. Basically they would give you allowance for each month, but they would not restrict, as long as you are not leaving America, they do not restrict your travel or your schedule at all. Yeah, so I think that would wrap up of the UGRAD.
Yeah, I agree. There's certain points that we mentioned as well. That's why we mentioned different things and trying to point out the differences and similarities in each of those. You might look at, I think, first of all, the criteria. Of course, the age range, whether you're an undergraduate student and that you can apply. So check those out and see if you fit in what criteria. And also one thing, I couldn't apply for UGRAD back then, I think, because my home university wouldn't accept the credit transfer, so I didn't, I kind of opt out from like UGRAD in general and really focus my attention on like YSEALI specifically. And I think it's important as well to look at YSEALI as the three themes that it provides, social entrepreneurship, environment, and civic engagement. Which one would you want to do? If none of those are in your interest, I think you can also see like the differences in where you want to go to. So I think, yeah, that's it. It depends on your interest and whether or not you're qualified or like you're eligible to apply for those.
Oh yeah, one last thing, Global UGRAD program is now open. So the timeline is from today that you're watching the video until the 15th of December 2022. Don't wait until the last week to apply because, like I mentioned, there's a lot of letters, there's a lot of essays that you have to complete, so make sure to finish it as soon as you can. And for the portal itself, it's just like other websites. There could be a lot of traffic at the last week. So make sure to actually just submit it before the deadline. At least 1 week, it would be good.
For YSEALI, I think it's currently not open, but there's two opening applications in 1 year, one for fall semester and one for spring semester. So you can check those out. Most of the information are on YSEALI page and US Embassy page.
Yep.
So be sure to check that in your relevant respective countries. So yeah, Anna?
Chào bác Tấn.
Okay.
You wrap up.
So yeah, we've discussed several things, and we hope that this has been helpful for you if you're looking for an exposure in academics or short exchange program to the US. So be sure to check out more criteria and things. And if you have any more questions, leave them down in the comments below, and we'll try our best to answer to those, or maybe make another video. So see you in another episode of Uni.
Bye bye.